Dharma and Greg have adopted a new baby. But why are all these other people crowding in?
Because it takes a village to raise a child, Greg.
Then, got pizza? An all-new 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place. After an all-new Dharma and Greg, ABC Wednesday, beginning at 8, 7 Central.
Hey, you guys. So, I was born during the most perfect year, 1977, because that meant I was a kid in the 80s, and during the 90s, I was in high school and college. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I really wish I would have been aware of how perfect that timing was all the way back then. As a 90s teen and 20-something, I had a very unique 90s pop culture experience. Like I talked about in a previous video, the youngest Gen Xers and Xennials like myself remember TV shows made specifically for us in the early 90s, like My So-Called Life, Clarissa Explains It All, Welcome Freshman, Swan's Crossing, 15. By the late 90s when I was in college, we had shows made for us like Felicity, Dawson's Creek, Popular, The Wayans Brothers, Moesha. But here's the thing, 90s TV wasn't just about shows made for us. A lot of the stuff that we loved wasn't technically aimed at teens or college kids. Some were family shows, some were meant for older audiences, but it didn't matter. We were watching anyway. And these are the shows that I'm going to talk about today. Hi, my name is Natalie. Welcome to my channel, My So-Called Gen X Life. And this is the best 90s TV shows that you forgot about unless you're Gen X.
If you get a package for someone else,
Richard McWilliams, Sicily, Alaska.
curb your curiosity.
Tacklebuck, fishing tackle.
I was going to shoot something wooden in here.
Resist temptation.
I need an x-ray.
You want me to tamper with the mail?
And don't even think about opening it.
We open it at a great personal risk.
An all-new Northern Exposure, Monday.
Northern Exposure is one of the quirkiest, most magical shows of the 1990s. The setup was a classic fish out of water tale. Dr. Joel Fleischman, a freshly minted doctor from New York City, finds out that the state of Alaska paid for his medical school, and now he has to pay it back by practicing medicine in the tiny town of Sicily, Alaska. He's expecting misery, but instead he finds himself surrounded by a cast of eccentric, unforgettable townsfolk. There was Maggie, the bush pilot, Chris, the philosophical DJ who quotes poetry on the radio, Maurice, the ex-astronaut turned town boss, Holing and Shelley, who run the bar, Ed, the sweet movie-obsessed kid, and Ruth Ann, the wise shop owner. Together, they gave us one of the most unusual small towns in TV history. The show originally aired on CBS from 1990 to 1995, running for 6 seasons and 110 episodes. Fun fact, it wasn't supposed to last. It debuted as a summer replacement series, but audiences fell in love with Sicily, and by 1993, it was pulling in 20 million viewers a week. It even won the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series in 1992. The show was not filmed in Alaska, though. Instead, it was filmed in Roslyn, Washington, and fans can still visit to this day and see many of the same storefronts used on the show, including the cafe and the famous mural. Oh, and who could forget the iconic opening credits, with the moose casually strolling through town? To film that opening, the town was fenced off and the moose, was named Morty, was lured with bananas and willow leaves by an animal handler named Ann Gordon. Morty was an orphan from an Alaska herd raised on a bottle at Washington State University, and he was reportedly paid $5,000 for his appearance because he was the only working moose available. But it should be noted that not everything was smooth sailing behind the scenes. Rob Morrow, who played Joel, left the series in its 5th season after contract disputes. Paul Provenza stepped in as new Dr. Philip Capra, but the show only lasted 8 more episodes until it was canceled. Still, Northern Exposure had already made its mark. It mixed small-town comedy with philosophy, folklore, and surrealism in a way that TV hadn't really seen before. In fact, you could say it paved the way for later shows like Gilmore Girls. Quirky, thoughtful, and just plain different, Northern Exposure was one of the true gems of 90s television. And if you were watching back then, you know that Sicily was a place you kind of wanted to live in too. Northern Exposure is currently available to stream on Amazon Prime Video.
We're back on Dan in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What was the name of the butler on Soap?
Bentley.
No.
Binford.
No.
You're talking about the butler on soap?
Yeah, they spun him off onto his own show.
It's not Bentley?
Benson. The guy's name was Benson.
No, that's not it.
No, that's not it.
Sports Night, Tuesdays this fall on ABC.
Now let's talk about a gem from the late 90s called Sports Night. Created by Aaron Sorkin, yes, the same guy who went on to do The West Wing, Sports Night ran on ABC from 1998 to 2000. On the surface, it was a half-hour comedy about the behind-the-scenes world of a fictional sports news show, kind of like an ESPN SportsCenter knockoff. But underneath, it was much more than that. The show followed anchors Dan Rydell and Casey McCall, played by Josh Charles and Peter Krause, along with their executive producer Dana, played by Felicity Huffman, their boss Isaac, played by Robert Guillaume, and their quirky production team. Sports Night was on the air during the golden era of ESPN and SportsCenter, and the character of Casey was loosely based on former ESPN SportsCenter anchor Craig Kilborn, who was hosting The Daily Show at the time, and who would go on to host The Late Show on CBS. But let's get back to Sports Night. It wasn't really about sports. It was about the people making the show, their friendships, romances, and personal struggles. It mixed sharp workplace banter with heart in a way that felt fresh and different at the time. But here's what made Sports Night unique. It was marketed as a sitcom, but it wasn't exactly a sitcom. The first season even had a laugh track, which audiences and critics hated, and it didn't fit the tone at all. By the second season, the laugh track was pretty much gone, and the show leaned more into fast-paced dialogue and character-driven storytelling, the style that would later become Sorkin's trademark. Behind the scenes, the show faced constant struggles with ratings. Critics loved it. It won 3 Emmys and a ton of praise for its writing, but it never found a huge audience. Part of the problem, viewers didn't know what to make of it. Was it a comedy, a drama, a workplace soap opera? The answer was yes to all of it. One big moment came in 1999 when Guillaume, who played Isaac, suffered a real-life stroke. Instead of writing him off the show, though, Sorkin wove it into the storyline, giving Sports Night one of its most heartfelt and groundbreaking arcs. Unfortunately, after just 2 seasons and 45 episodes, ABC pulled the plug. There was interest from cable networks like HBO and Showtime in continuing the series, but Sorkin was already moving on to The West Wing, which premiered in 1999 and became his next big hit. Even though it was short-lived, Sports Night still left a legacy. It showed how a comedy could be smart, heartfelt, and sophisticated all at once. And for a lot of fans, it was their introduction to Sorkin's signature rapid-fire dialogue, the walk-and-talk style that defined so much of his later work. So if you've never seen it, Sports Night is definitely worth revisiting. It's not just a show about sports, it's a show about people trying to do something they love and all the messy, funny, emotional stuff that comes with it. Episodes of Sports Night are available now on Amazon Prime Video and Apple TV.
This is an Eerie update.
After he died, Elvis had his mail forwarded to a house on my street. We got junk mail.
Eerie, Indiana.
Now here's a show that every Gen Xer and Xennial remembers if they were even a little bit into the weird. Eerie, Indiana. This quirky series aired on NBC from 1991 to 1992. Only lasted 1 season. But wow, what a season. The premise followed Marshall Teller, a teenager who moves with his family to the small town of Eerie, Indiana. Population 16,661. At first, it looks like an ordinary suburb, but Marshall quickly realizes it's the strangest place on Earth. His neighbor still lives in the 1950s, kids are preserved in giant Tupperware containers to stay young forever, and Elvis might actually be alive and well, living right down the street. Marshall teams up with his new best friend Simon to investigate all the bizarre happenings, basically making them paranormal detectives. Each episode felt like a mix of The Twilight Zone and Goosebumps, but with a sarcastic 90s teen twist. Behind the scenes, the show was created by Jose Rivera and Carl Schaefer, and it had some serious talent attached. Joe Dante, the director of Gremlins, was a creative consultant and even directed a couple of episodes. That explains why it leans so heavily into dark humor mixed with offbeat suburban satire. Eerie, Indiana was partly inspired by the series Twin Peaks, which was sometimes even referenced in the show. But unfortunately, Eerie, Indiana struggled with ratings and was canceled after just 19 episodes. But it didn't disappear completely. Reruns on the Disney Channel in the mid-90s gave it a whole new life and helped it gain a cult following. Probably there's some millennials in there, I'll acknowledge that. There was even a short-lived spin-off in 1998 called Eerie Indiana, The Other Dimension, but it never had the same magic as the original. Today, Eerie Indiana is remembered as one of those ahead-of-its-time shows. It blended creepy, surreal storytelling with a sense of humor that Gen X and Xennials totally got, even if boomers didn't. If you were watching in the early 90s, you know this was the show that made you look at your own neighborhood and wonder, what if something that strange was happening right on my block? Eerie Indiana is available for free on Tubi, Pluto TV, Plex, and the Roku channel.
For the next 3 weeks, Dharma and Greg is all new. New job, new furniture, and a new baby.
Are you pregnant?
If you think that's big, wait till you see.
Oh dear God!
All new Dharma and Greg. See you Tuesday on ABC.
Surprise!
Every minute.
You heard him.
Oh yes, Dharma and Greg, the quirky romantic comedy that defined a certain kind of 90s TV charm, complete with its very own manic pixie dream girl. The premise is simple but hilarious. Dharma is a free-spirited new age woman raised by hippies, and Greg is a buttoned-up lawyer from a conservative family. They literally get married on their first date, and the show follows the chaos of blending their worlds. Jenna Elfman and Thomas Gibson had perfect chemistry, making the couple feel both romantic and totally relatable. They were polar opposites, but he fulfilled her need of stability and she fulfilled his need of optimism. One of the funniest parts of the show, though, were the parents. Dharma's parents, Larry and Abby Finkelstein, are loving, outspoken, ultra-liberal hippies who raised Dharma to embrace her eccentricities. Greg's parents, Kitty and Edward Montgomery, are conservative, uptight, and perpetually horrified by Dharma's influence on their son. Much of the humor comes from the clash between these two sets of parents. Awkward dinners, philosophical arguments, and constant teasing all made for comedy gold. The show was created by Dottie Dartland and Chuck Lorre. Yes, the same Chuck Lorre who later gave us The Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men. And we definitely got the vanity cards at the end of each episode that he is known for. Fun fact, Lorre said the show was inspired by the clash between free-spirited and uptight people he noticed in Los Angeles, and he wanted to explore that in a heartfelt comedic way. Dharma and Greg leaned heavily on physical comedy, witty banter, and the cultural clash between Dharma's hippie philosophy and Greg's structured life. There were plenty of running gags, like Greg's mom poking fun at Dharma's habits, or Dharma's meditation and self-help obsessions. Behind the scenes, Elfman became an instant breakout star. She even won a Golden Globe in 1999 for her performance. This show was a big deal for ABC in the late 90s, helping the network compete in the sitcom-heavy Thursday night lineup. And here's a little piece of trivia that I found fascinating. In a rarity for a series that ran 5 full seasons, all of the principal characters, Dharma, Greg, and both sets of parents, appear in all 119 episodes. While it sometimes felt like a typical fish-out-of-water sitcom, Dharma and Greg stood out because it balanced weird comedy with genuine heart. It's a perfect snapshot of late 90s TV, quirky, optimistic, and a little bit rebellious, just like Dharma herself. Dharma and Greg is available for free here on YouTube thanks to the channel Tina C, and I put a link to the playlist in this video's description.
Thursday, if you think the internet is a safe place to play,
Pedophiles making contact via computer, they lure the kids out of their homes.
think again.
What can we do?
Until he logs on, not a damn thing.
It's a story torn from today's headlines.
So beautiful.
New York Undercover, a brand new episode, Thursday.
New York Undercover is a show that doesn't get talked about nearly enough when people remember 90s TV. This Fox drama was groundbreaking for a couple of reasons. First, it was created by Dick Wolf, the Law and Order guy. And second, it was the first American cop drama to star two people of color in the lead roles. Malik Yoba played Detective J.C. Williams, and Michael De Lorenzo played Detective Eddie Torres. Together, they worked undercover cases in New York City, while also dealing with their complicated personal lives. But here's what made this show really stand out. It wasn't just about cops busting bad guys. New York Undercover leaned into the culture of the city. Music, fashion, family, and community. Every episode ended with a live musical performance at Natalie's, the nightclub where the characters hung out. Hey, that's my name. Everyone from Mary J. Blige to Boyz II Men to Aaliyah performed on the show. For a lot of fans, it was a perfect blend of crime drama and 90s hip-hop R&B culture. Behind the scenes, the show was part of Fox's big push in the 90s to create edgier, more diverse programming, and it worked. New York Undercover was a hit in its early seasons, even pulling in ratings that rivaled ER and Friends. But its success actually led to its demise. Before production started on the third season, De Lorenzo and Yoba staged a walkout of the show and refused to return to work unless they received higher salaries and better accommodations. Production was shut down temporarily, and Wolf threatened to fire them both. He even wrote a script where their characters were killed off. Ultimately, De Lorenzo and Yoba returned to work, but De Lorenzo left the show at the end of season 3. New York Undercover ran for 4 seasons total and nearly 90 episodes, and being a Dick Wolf show, it wasn't afraid to shake things up. Major characters were killed off, the tone got darker, and by the 4th season, the original formula had really shifted. Ratings dropped, and Fox canceled it in 1999. But the legacy of New York Undercover is important. It opened doors for other shows with diverse leads and storylines rooted in real cultural issues. And if you were watching in the 90s, you know it had one of the best soundtracks of any TV show at the time. So while it might not be remembered as loudly as Law & Order, New York Undercover deserves its place as one of the best 90s shows that Gen X hasn't forgotten. You can watch New York Undercover on Tubi, Hulu, or Disney+.
What makes one airline fly higher than all others? We like to think it's service.
I'm going to take your briefcase and put it through our special scratch remover.
Even the in-flight cuisine must be perfect.
One thing I can't stomach is when you take a bite of chicken and a big old vein comes snapping back at you.
Wings, NBC Thursdays. Something funny's in the air.
Oh my goodness. Wings, the underrated NBC sitcom that soared under the radar but became a cult favorite. Set on the picturesque island of Nantucket, the show revolved around Joe and Brian Hackett, 2 brothers who run a small regional airline. Joe, the responsible older sibling, was portrayed by Tim Daly, while Steven Weber played Brian, the charming and carefree younger brother. Their dynamic is central to the show's humor and its heart. The ensemble cast included Crystal Bernard as Helen Chappell, the airport lunch counter operator, and Joe's love interest. David Schramm as Roy Biggins, the pompous rival airline owner, Rebecca Shull as Faye Cochran, the wise and quirky ticket agent, and Thomas Hayden Church as Lowell Mather, the mechanic with a laid-back attitude. Notably, Tony Shalhoub joined the cast as Antonia Scarpacci, a taxi driver with a heart of gold in season 3, and he quickly became a fan favorite. Wings was created by David Angel, Peter Casey, and David Lee, the same team behind Cheers. Their expertise in crafting ensemble comedies is evident in Wings, which blends witty dialogue with character-driven storytelling. This show launched the careers of Daly, Weber, and Shalhoub, but the cast could have looked a lot different. Perry Gilpin, Julianne Moore, Gina Gershon, Marsha Cross, Marcia Gay Harden, Rita Wilson, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Megan Mullally all auditioned for the role of Helen. Gilpin was actually the producer's favorite, but NBC didn't like her for the role, but she would go on to get the part of Roz Doyle in Frasier. Meanwhile, Fisher Stevens, Hank Azaria, George Clooney, and David Duchovny all auditioned for the role of Brian. Despite its critical acclaim and loyal fan base, Wings faced challenges with viewership and was often overshadowed by other sitcoms of the era. However, its charm and wit have earned it a lasting place in television history. If you're in the mood for a feel-good sitcom with sharp humor and memorable characters, Wings is definitely worth revisiting. It's available on Pluto TV, Amazon Prime Video, and Paramount+.
Gary Hobson was an ordinary man until an extraordinary gift came to his door.
What are you talking about here? A newspaper that tells the future?
Now, getting the news delivered one day early
I missed it.
will change his life.
You're supposed to do whatever you can.
I want to report a crime.
When did it happen?
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
He'll find what it means to be a hero.
The world's full of miracles, Gary. You don't always need eyes to see them.
Coming to America's Night of Television, a magical new series. Early edition, CBS Saturdays this fall.
Early Edition was a unique mix of drama, mystery, and a little bit of magic that made it a memorable part of 90s TV. The show stars Kyle Chandler as Gary Hobson, a Chicago stockbroker who mysteriously receives tomorrow's newspaper today from an orange cat named Carl. Quick side note, Carl definitely is a cutie, but he's not as cute as my cat Dale. I just had to throw that in there. Getting the paper a day early means that Gary knows about accidents, crimes, and disasters before they happen, and it's up to him to try to prevent them. Every episode becomes a mix of suspense, heroics, and everyday life as Gary juggles doing the right thing with trying to maintain a normal existence. Joining Chandler in the cast was Shanisa Davis, Fisher Stevens, and eventually Christy Swanson. Early Edition aired on CBS from 1996 to 2000 for 4 seasons and 90 episodes, and it was created by Ian Abrams, Patrick Q. Page, and Bob Brush. The series was praised for its heartwarming storytelling, moral dilemmas, and clever use of Chicago as a backdrop. Each episode balanced tension, humor, and drama, often showing Gary using inventive ways to prevent disasters while learning life lessons along the way. The paper that Gary received every day was an actual copy of the Chicago Sun-Times, specifically printed for each episode, even if the headlines didn't match the columns. While the show never became a massive ratings juggernaut, Early Edition earned a devoted following and is remembered fondly for its mix of adventure, mystery, and optimism, a show that felt like a daily reminder that one person can make a difference. Early Edition is an absolute 90s gem that is currently available to stream on the Roku channel and for purchase on Amazon Prime Video.
My name is Thomas Vale, or at least it was. I'm a photographer. I had it all. A wife, Allison, friends, a career, and in one moment it was all taken away. All because of a single photograph. I have it, they want it, and they will do anything to get the negative. I'm keeping this diary as proof that these events are real. I know they are. They have to be.
Nowhere Man was a cult classic that left viewers questioning reality long after its single season aired. Conceived as a cross between the classic American television series The Fugitive and the British TV series The Prisoner, Nowhere Man starred Bruce Greenwood as Thomas Vale, a documentary photographer, and the series followed his life unraveling after a single evening. He captured a controversial photograph of U.S. soldiers executing civilians in South America, so when Vale returns home, he finds that his wife, friends, and even his credit cards no longer recognize him. His existence has been erased, and it's thrust him into a world where no one believes he ever existed. Created by Lawrence Herzog, the show aired on UPN from August of 1995 to May of 1996. Despite critical acclaim and a devoted niche audience, Nowhere Man was canceled after 1 season. Why? Well, UPN was a new network with limited reach. This show's serialized, sophisticated tone didn't always attract casual viewers, and the marketing was minimal. Essentially, the ratings just weren't high enough to keep it on the air. Each episode delved deeper into Vale's search for answers, encountering shadowy organizations and uncovering a vast conspiracy. It's often compared to The X-Files for its blend of paranoia, mystery, and psychological tension, making it one of the most memorable and most underrated thrillers of the 90s. As one reviewer put it, it's the best show that was ever canceled. And damn it ended on a cliffhanger, which hurts my soul. Nowhere Man is available on YouTube thanks to the channel TR47, and you can watch the complete series. I put a link to the playlist in this video's description.
Byrds of Paradise.
Franny's got a brand new tattoo.
Sam needs help being super dad.
You think I'm nuts?
Lots of people go to therapists nowadays. There's no stigma attached.
This wasn't my idea. My dad's got a big problem.
What do you think your father's problem is?
He's only got an hour, right?
Being school headmaster isn't any easier.
I like to think of the Palmer School as my ship.
I hope you're not trying to tell me how to do my job, Rex. I do expect the Phantom to cease and desist.
In Franny and Harry, check out the student body.
Harry, can you help me or what?
Sure, no problem.
You and sweetheart.
You want to go to the dance?
Sure.
How's the computer lessons going? Computer lessons? With my girlfriend.
Coming up on the Byrds of Paradise, next week and every Thursday.
Short-lived, sun-drenched, and far more heartfelt than people remember, The Byrds of Paradise was ABC's spring 1994 family drama about starting over after loss. It wasn't set in suburbia, though. It was set in Hawaii. Created by Charles E. Egley and Channing Gibson and executive produced by Stephen Bochco, it ran for one season, just 13 episodes, with one that only aired locally in Hawaii. Timothy Busfeld played Sam Byrd, a recently widowed dad who moves his 3 kids from Connecticut to Oahu to become headmaster at a private school. His children were Harry, played by Seth Green, Franny, played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, and Zeke, played by Ryan O'Donoghue. The cast also included folk legend Arlo Guthrie as poet and mentor Alan Moon. Beyond the premise, the show's standout quality was its authentic use of place. Filmed entirely on Oahu with local actors and storylines that actually engaged with Hawaiian culture, including the pidgin dialogue, it felt different from other Paradise shows that used the islands as mere wallpaper. A mid-season tsunami storyline and a school production of Twelfth Night in Pidgin, that's the episode that aired in Hawaii but not on the mainland, it underlined how committed the series was to grounding its drama in local life. And a quick industry footnote, it's one of the rare Bochco-produced series that he didn't actually create. But the theme music does come from TV legend Mike Post, and both of these details quietly raised the show's pedigree. As of today, there's no official US streaming or DVD release of Byrds of Paradise. However, the YouTube channel Ronald Vaughn has uploaded all 13 episodes, and I have included a link to that playlist in the description.
Stand in the place where you live. Now face no. Think about direction.
Tonight,
look everybody! Here comes Paperboy 2000!
Chris goes toe-to-toe with the Paperboy of the future.
Could somebody tell me which end of this tin can is the butt? Because I'm just about to kick it.
Chris Elliott stars in Get a Life next.
Get a Life was a short-lived sitcom that was as bizarre as it was brilliant, and it was probably the weirdest show ever to air on Fox. It starred Chris Elliott as Chris Peterson, a 30-year-old paperboy who still lives with his wacky parents. He never wants to grow up, and he was pretty much on a mission to avoid responsibility at all costs. Playing Chris's mom was Eleanor Donahue, best known for her roles on Father Knows Best and The Andy Griffith Show. And Chris Elliott's real-life dad, Bob Elliott, played his dad on the show. His parents were always wearing pajamas, and that's because Chris wanted his dad to be comfortable on the set and not have to deal with wardrobe changes. Get a Life was a surreal, darkly comic exploration of Arrested Development. Each episode pushed the boundaries of absurdity, often featuring Chris dying in increasingly ridiculous ways, sometimes multiple times in a single episode. Show topics included the eating of a space alien, a robotic paperboy, and numerous beheadings. Get a Life was actually one of the first television shows that featured the killing of the star of the show. It was created by Elliott, Adam Resnick, and David Merkin, the latter of whom had worked on The Simpsons and Newhart. In order to get Fox to greenlight Get a Life, Merkin says he pitched it as being similar to the movie Big, and then in the pilot, Chris was depicted as a fully functioning, wisecracking adult. But then in the later episodes, Chris was depicted as borderline psychotic. They made him more likable in the pilot to get the network to order the series, and then once they got the series order, the producers took the character in the darker direction that they always had intended. And then during the series run, in order to please Fox executives, the writers would submit scripts that were sentimental and family-friendly, and then the writers would change the lines during filming. Boss move. Despite its unique and edgy humor, Get a Life struggled to find a broad audience, and it was canceled after 2 seasons. But as a matter of fact, the series was canceled after its first season, but Fox suddenly changed their minds and renewed it for season 2. But those 2 seasons is all it would get. Merkin had worked on the premise for a potential 3rd season, which was Chris would have moved out of the Gus's garage and become a homeless drifter, and then he would have traveled the country in every place, touching someone else's life and making it a little bit worse. I would have watched that. Over the past 30 years, Get a Life has gained a cult following, with fans praising its unconventional storytelling and Elliott's fearless performance. This show is often cited as a precursor to the kind of offbeat, boundary-pushing comedy that would later flourish on networks like Adult Swim. Get a Life is available for purchase on Amazon and Google Play, and some episodes can be found on YouTube.
So, NBC Tuesday, there's this new show, News Radio.
See those sprinklers up there? They're not hooked up to anything.
Meet the boss.
Yeah, I paid a guy off, had my nephew come in, super glue him to the ceiling.
Premiering NBC Tuesday, News Radio. The best comedy money can buy.
New York, New York, it's a hell of a town.
For fans of Phil Hartman, News Radio isn't just another 90s sitcom. It's one of his finest showcases. Set in the quirky anything-goes offices of a fictional New York AM radio station, the series worked because it assembled one of the sharpest comedy ensembles of the decade. Dave Foley was the earnest WNYX news director named Dave Nelson, forever trying to impose order on a staff that thrived on chaos. Maura Tierney grounded things as a smart, steady producer Lisa Miller. Stephen Root was off-the-wall hilarious as eccentric station owner Jimmy James. And then there was Phil Hartman as anchor Bill McNeil, pompous, self-important, completely oblivious, and absolutely hysterical. Hartman had already cemented himself as a legend on Saturday Night Live and as the voice of Troy McClure and Lionel Hutz on The Simpsons. But News Radio gave him a whole new arena to show off his brilliance. His timing was flawless, his delivery iconic, and his character one of those sitcom creations that fans can never forget. For those of us who adored Hartman, News Radio feels like a gift, the last great comedy role before he left us. But Hartman wasn't the only one making an impression. This was also where most Gen Xers first met Joe Rogan. Long before UFC commentary or podcasting, he was just Joe Girelli, the station's streetwise handyman. Rogan's character wasn't the center of the show, but he added an everyman quality, a regular guy's voice amidst all of the absurd personalities. For many, it's wild to think the guy fixing doors and delivering punchlines at WNYX would go on to become one of the most recognizable media figures in the world. The rest of the ensemble rounded things out with Andy Dick as eternally childish reporter Matthew and Candy Alexander as no-nonsense newswoman Catherine. The cast together created a comedy rhythm that was both chaotic and razor-sharp. But sadly, this show's legacy is engulfed in heartbreak. Tragedy struck in 1998 when Hartman's shocking death left fans and castmates devastated. The show continued with John Lovitz stepping in as a new character, but it could never fully recover. It ended the following year after 5 seasons and 97 episodes. Looking back now, News Radio stands as one of the most underrated sitcoms of the 90s. For Hartman fans, it's a chance to savor his brilliance one last time. And for Gen Xers, it's also the strange, delightful memory of when they first met a young Joe Rogan before anyone had the faintest idea where his career would go. All 5 seasons of News Radio are available on DVD, and the show occasionally pops up on streaming services. Currently, it's available on Pluto TV. It may not have reached Friends level fame, but for those who discovered it, News Radio is one of the crown jewels of 90s sitcoms.
Imagine growing up without parents.
Where were you?
Shopping. What do you think?
You better not have paid for that with check 917.
This fall, you'll meet 5 extraordinary young people.
Are we in trouble?
Trying to make it on their own.
I'm here to interview for the nanny position.
They lost something precious.
Did you ever think about them, Bailey?
Of course I do.
But found each other. Party of 5 after Melrose Place tomorrow.
Few shows from the 90s hit as hard emotionally as Party of 5. Premiering on Fox in 1994, the series followed the 5 Salinger siblings who lose their parents in a car accident and are forced to raise themselves in San Francisco. Those 5 Salinger siblings were Charlie, played by Matthew Fox, Bailey, played by Scott Wolf, Julia, played by Neve Campbell, Claudia, played by Lacey Chabert, and baby Owen, who was played by twins. It wasn't just another soapy teen drama. It was raw, emotional, and surprisingly heavy for network TV, tackling themes of grief, alcoholism, cancer, teen pregnancy, and the challenges of suddenly having to grow up too fast. This series was a springboard for some major careers. Fox went on to lead Lost, Campbell was crowned the Scream Queen thanks to Scream, and Lacey Chabert would later earn her place in pop culture history with Mean Girls and an endless run of Hallmark movies. But for many fans, Jennifer Love Hewitt was the breakout star of Party of Five. Joining in season 2 as Sarah Reeves, Bailey's girlfriend, Hewitt quickly became a central figure in the storyline. She was the sweet, grounding presence in Bailey's chaotic world, and her popularity exploded. By the late 90s, Hewitt was one of the decade's defining teen idols, thanks to her role here and big screen hits like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Can't Hardly Wait. She even scored her own spin-off called Time of Your Life, but it only lasted one season. While Party of Five never dominated the ratings, it was beloved by critics and fans alike. In 1996, it won the Golden Globe for Best Drama Series, beating out giants like ER. And for Gen Xers, the show still stands as one of the most authentic portrayals of young adulthood in the 90s on television. Today, you can revisit Party of Five. It's streaming on Hulu, which carries all 6 seasons.
Mr. Show, watch it up now. Mr. Show, do it up now. Mr. Show.
I was raised at a time when people respected each other. The mid-'70s. You came of age at a different time, the late 70s. We're from different generations.
You know, it's people of your generation that wreck things for us, the people of 1 year later. You know, we're still cleaning up your mess.
I'm sorry, folks. We just don't relate.
I think this show is over.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, quit. Just like your generation. Give up.
Mr. Show with Bob and David was one of the most influential sketch comedy shows of the 90s. It was one of those shows that we just did not miss when I was in college. Mr. Show starred Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, and it aired on HBO for 4 seasons from 1995 to 1998. Unlike typical sketch shows, Mr. Show was known for its surreal, biting humor, long-form sketches, and seamless transitions that linked the sketches together in a way that felt like one continuous comedic world. And that was the twist. All of the sketches, even the monologue, were connected in some strange way. Many of the sketches satirized pop culture, politics, and societal norms, often pushing boundaries with edgy and absurd comedy. It wasn't just laughs. Mr. Show influenced a generation of comedians and writers, including members of Arrested Development, Saturday Night Live, and even Breaking Bad. I mean, Bob Odenkirk went on to star as Saul Goodman. Behind the scenes, Odenkirk and Cross had complete creative control, allowing them to experiment with unconventional formats, characters, and visual gags. Despite being a critical darling, its niche humor meant the show didn't have a huge mainstream audience at the time, but its legacy is huge. Today, it's regarded as a cult classic that helped redefine sketch comedy. Comedy duo Tim and Eric have said that their program, Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job, was highly inspired by Mr. Show. Other sketch comedy shows whose creators have cited Mr. Show as an influence include Portlandia, Key and Peele, Kroll Show, and The Whitest Kids You Know. Mr. Show with Bob and David is currently streaming on HBO Max, and select seasons are also available for purchase on Amazon Prime Video and iTunes.
Did you misunderstand the goal here, Fred? I think I'm retaining water.
Hayden Fox is a man dedicated to himself.
Mom said you used to get kind of upset after you lost a game.
The team lost the game, I didn't.
Now he's dedicated to his daughter.
I have this feeling you're dying to know about my date.
A sneak preview of Coach, February 28th.
Coach is a classic sitcom that ran for 9 seasons on ABC, and those 200 episodes made it one of the defining workplace comedies of the 90s. It starred Craig T. Nelson as Hayden Fox, the gruff but big-hearted head coach of the fictional Minnesota State Screaming Eagles football team, and the show blended that workplace comedy with heartfelt family moments. At Hayden's side were his 2 loyal assistants, Luther Van Dam, played by Jerry Van Dyke, and the lovable but dim-witted Dauber Dubinsky, played by Bill Fagerbakke. Dauber became one of the show's most memorable characters, a gentle giant whose goofy innocence provided some of the best laughs. And yes, years later, Fagerbakke became a whole new generation's favorite as the voice of Patrick Star on SpongeBob SquarePants. Balancing out the locker room humor was Shelley Fabre as Christine, Hayden's longtime girlfriend and eventual wife, who brought heart and warmth to the series. Their relationship gave the show a grounding emotional core, especially as Hayden struggled to juggle his career ambitions with his personal life. Hayden's family life was a big part of the show as well. His daughter Kelly Fox, played by Claire Carey, grew from a teenage Gen Xer into a young adult over the course of the series. Kelly's romantic adventures, especially her on-again, off-again relationship with boyfriend Stuart, added another layer of humor and relatability. Their storylines often highlighted the generational gaps between Hayden and his daughter, providing both comedy and touching moments that rounded out the series. Coach wasn't just a sitcom about football. It was about friendship, mentorship, and finding balance in middle age. It earned steady ratings, a loyal fan base, and even 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, including one for Nelson as Outstanding Lead Actor. Today, Coach can be streamed on Tubi for free, and it's also available for purchase on Amazon Prime Video.
A world of its own, the streets where we play.
Tomorrow's a special night for Brooklyn Bridge.
Ironing my uniform? Then you think I'm gonna let you go with wrinkles?
TV critics call it the top new fall series.
You opened a letter addressed to me? It's an invasion of my privacy. From the family you have secrets now?
See the season's best new series and see what all the cheering's about. Brooklyn Bridge after E.T. tomorrow.
Brooklyn Bridge was a heartfelt family drama from the 90s that captured the nostalgia of 1950s New York City. It was all about a 14-year-old boy named Alan whose life revolved around family, the synagogue, and the Dodgers. Created by Gary David Goldberg, who brought us family ties in the 80s, Brooklyn Bridge focused on the real-life experiences of Goldberg's own childhood. It followed the Jewish-American Silver family, particularly young Alan and his older brother, as they grew up in Brooklyn. The series explored family, friendship, love, and the challenges of adolescence, all set against a vibrant backdrop of post-World War II New York. The cast included Danny Gerard as Alan, Amy Aquino and Peter Friedman as his parents, Marion Ross and Louis Zorich as his grandparents, and a young Jenny Lewis, yes, before her music career with Rilo Kiley, as Alan's friend and crush, Katie. The show aired on CBS from 1991 to 1993 and was showered with critical praise. It won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy Series and even earned an Emmy nomination, but ratings never matched the acclaim. Critics often compared it to the Wonder Years, but with a distinctly Jewish-American perspective and an even sharper sense of family and cultural history. Despite lasting just 2 seasons, Brooklyn Bridge left a strong impression on those who watched it. The opening theme, Just Over the Brooklyn Bridge, performed by Art Garfunkel, set the nostalgic tone for a show that was funny, tender, and deeply authentic. Brooklyn Bridge is a tough one to find on streaming or on DVD, but you can find some episodes here on YouTube.
My front porch swing, a glass of lemonade, a baby on my knee, I think I got it made. You best be believing I'm never leaving Evening Shade.
In the small town of Evening Shade, Arkansas, high school coach Wood Newton has his hands full.
I have not won a game in 2.5 years.
His luck could be changing. Meet his new assistant.
I guess you know a little bit about football, huh?
No.
But today's his birthday, and his wife Ava has a special surprise.
I'm pregnant.
Coach seems a little down.
He's got those over the hill, my wife's off the pill, and my vasectomy didn't take blues.
Burt Reynolds heads an all-star cast in Evening Shade, Mondays on CBS.
Next up is one of my absolute favorite shows ever, Evening Shade, a sitcom that blended Southern charm with heartfelt humor, making it a standout in early 90s television. Set in the town of Evening Shade, Arkansas, the series followed Woodrow Wood Newton, played by Burt Reynolds, a former professional football player who returns to his hometown to become the head coach of the local high school football team. His arrival brings a mix of comedy and drama as he deals with the challenges of coaching a team with a long losing streak while reconnecting with old friends and family. The show delves into themes of community, family, and personal redemption, all set against the backdrop of rural America. The ensemble cast included Mary Lou Henner as Wood's wife Ava Evans Newton, Ossie Davis as Ponder Blue, Wood's best friend, Charles Durning as Dr. Harlan Eldridge, Michael Jeter as Herman Stiles, and Gen Xer J.R. Ferguson as Taylor Newton, Wood's son. Completing the main ensemble cast was Elizabeth Ashley as Frida Evans, Ann Wedgeworth as Merlene Eldridge, Hal Holbrook as Evan Evans, and Linda Geringer as Fontana Beausoleil. There were even some soon-to-be famous actors who appeared on the show, like Billy Bob Thornton, Hilary Swank, and Leah Remini. The series was created by Linda Bloodworth Thomason and Harry Thomason, who are also behind the successful show Designing Women. Their collaboration brought a unique blend of wit and warmth to Evening Shade, making it a critical success. Despite its popularity and strong ratings, it peaked at number 15 in the Nielsen ratings during its second season. The show was canceled after 4 seasons in 1994. The primary reason cited was escalating production costs, particularly the high salaries of its all-star cast, which made the show financially unsustainable for CBS. Some speculated that Burt Reynolds' personal issues, including his divorce from Lonnie Anderson, may have influenced the decision, but the official reason remains the show's budgetary constraints. Evening Shade is not available on any streaming platform, but there are episodes available on YouTube. Or you can be a nerd like me and buy the entire series on DVD. Oh, and if you want to see a deep dive into Evening Shade, I made this video right here when I first started this channel, and I put a link to it in the description.
The war is over. A celebration has begun. Boys have returned as men to open arms, to laughter, and to love.
Sarah, the whole time I was over there, all I thought about was you.
How am I gonna tell him?
Is she seeing someone else? She what?
These are their stories of triumph.
This is an impressive record, soldier.
And despair.
They can't pay you less than other men on the line. They can if I'm a janitor.
Their hope for the future.
Hank has been fighting a war, not dating.
Their dreams left behind.
Americans are wonderful people. Linda, if you'd made an effort to pretty yourself up, you wouldn't have lost Mike to some Italian.
They became wartime heroes. Now they've returned to the home front.
Homefront was a critically acclaimed period drama that many fans still consider one of the most underrated shows of the 90s. Set in the fictional town of River Run, Ohio, right after World War II, the series explored the toll that the war took on the young men of the silent generation, as well as the massive social changes reshaping America in the mid to late 1940s. From labor unions and racial tensions to women entering the workforce and returning GIs trying to adjust to civilian life, Homefront tackled history with humanity and heart. The show followed several families, the blue-collar Metcalfs, the wealthy Sloans, and the African-American Davis family, whose storylines explored race, class, and ambition in post-war America. Instead of nostalgia glossing over the past, though, Homefront leaned into the real struggles of the era while still celebrating community, resilience, and love. The ensemble cast featured Kyle Chandler, years before Friday Night Lights, Kelly Rutherford, Jessica Steen, John Slattery, and Mimi Kennedy. Their interwoven stories gave the series depth and a sense of authenticity, especially with its meticulous attention to period detail, from music and fashion to real historical events woven into the plots. Homefront aired on ABC from 1991 to 1993, earning critical acclaim and winning a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Writing. Unfortunately, despite a devoted fan base, it struggled in the ratings and was canceled after just 2 seasons. Many fans still consider it gone too soon, comparing it to later ensemble dramas like Mad Men for its layered storytelling. Homefront isn't currently streaming on any major platforms, and it was never released on DVD. But fans can find a handful of select episodes here on YouTube. Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, a show that somehow lasted 4 seasons, launched Ryan Reynolds' career, gave Nathan Fillion his start, and then vanished into the pop culture Bermuda Triangle. The series premiered as a mid-season replacement on ABC in March of 1998, running 13 episodes, before being picked up for a full run. It ended in May of 2001 after 81 episodes in total, with, of course, a cliffhanger finale. The premise was pretty simple. 3 20-somethings trying to figure out life in Boston. Reynolds played Michael Bergen, a sarcastic slacker with a gift for getting into trouble. Richard Ruccolo was his more grounded buddy Pete Dunville, and Traylor Howard played Sharon Carter, a kind of walking, talking Meg Ryan haircut, who lived in the apartment above them. Together, they navigated jobs, relationships, and general 90s 20-something angst. Oh, and a lot of this happened inside Beacon Street Pizza, based on a real-life pizza joint in Somerville, Massachusetts, where the show's creator once worked while at Tufts University. The first season definitely had its quirks. Jennifer Westfeldt appeared as Peter's girlfriend, and David Ogden Stiers, better known as Major Winchester from MASH, played Mr. Bauer, a delusional old man who'd hang out in the pizza place retelling movie plots as if they'd happened to him. But by season 2, those characters were written out, and the focus tightened around Berg, Pete, and Sharon. That's also when Fillion joined the cast as Johnny Donnelly, a jukebox repairman who would go on to marry Sharon. Berg eventually headed to medical school, where he constantly sparred with Ashley Walker, played by Susan Cryer, and Pete floundered his way through multiple career paths, including architecture, career counseling, and later firefighting. The pizza place itself was written out entirely by season 3, hence the title change to simply Two Guys and a Girl. By the later seasons, the show leaned fully into wacky sitcom territory. Berg dated his eccentric neighbor Irene, Sharon and Johnny became building superintendents, and Pete dated a fellow firefighter played by none other than Tiffany Amber Thiessen, fresh off Saved by the Bell and Beverly Hills 90210. And then there's the finale, one of the most bizarre endings in 90s sitcom history. Titled The Internet Show, it let fans go online and vote for which female character, Sharon, Ashley, or Irene, would end up pregnant. 4 different endings were filmed, and ultimately the winning vote went to Ashley. The plan was for season 5 to deal with her pregnancy and birth, but ABC pulled the plug before it could happen, leaving fans with one giant unresolved cliffhanger. Looking back, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place feels like a cultural blip. A show that had all the frosted tips, sarcasm, and bootcut jeans you could want from the late 90s. It wasn't a phenomenon like Friends, but it had its own sharp, funny voice. And for giving us Ryan Reynolds and Nathan Fillion, we kind of owe it a thank you. Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place is currently available on Amazon Prime Video and Apple TV. Wow, I gotta be honest, guys, that was a kick-ass list of TV shows. I'm really proud of this one. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to talk more about awesome TV shows and movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, join me on my Friday night live stream. You can also hang out with me for free over on my Discord server made for Gen Xers, or become a YouTube channel member. I've got 2 levels for you to choose from. Alright, that's it for me today. Okay, bye!